So the war in Ukraine is still, well, ongoing, as it probably will be for, well, quite some time to for be at this moment in time. But we're not talking about the war on the ground because I think increasingly, one of the factors that is going to probably help decide the war is going to be air power. If you control the air, if you control the ground, it sort of changes what you can do, how you can sort of then act, how you can advance under the cover of your air power. And we have actually seen Russia be very, very afraid to commit its air power fully to this operation. And we have seen many photos of downed Russian fighter jets, even the new SU, as we'll see here in this moment, the new SU-72s, which are meant to be the amazing equivalent that Russia is again trying to sort of sell to all these countries as this is no, you don't buy the F-37. That's terrible. No, what you want is this brand new, spanking new Russian technology backed based Su-72. It's amazing. I mean, look, it can do the whole thing where it goes along and then just hovers and just bops in midair. Isn't that fantastic? As if that has some sort of military application. Um, it doesn't. But what we're going to be talking about, or at least what we're going to be looking at today, is we're going to be looking at this new video that the US has released about the Russian jets intercepting this drone and very clearly hitting it. Like this was an absolute clearly it hit. You can tell from the footage it clearly hit. And it wasn't the drone that did it. It was the pilot. You can see, as we'll see in a moment, the angle that they were coming in and what they were trying to do. Yeah, this is very clearly Russia did this, and it is an attempt to, well, essentially try and cut the Ukrainians off from U.S. intelligence. US from day one has been providing Ukraine with intelligence, not only just from spy satellites, but from drones as well. And Russia is getting increasingly annoyed that the US continues to do this. And I've said, well, screw you. That's my message to Russia. You're the ones who started this conflict. You cannot be upset that other countries are now helping out. And there has also been another escalation, but we'll get to that in a bit once we've gone through the footage. But before we do that, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Of course, do remember to ring the bell as well. And of course, down below you can check out the Patreon page, the one foundation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can all buy me coffee. And of course, there's the Pony Club and the YouTube thank you button as well. So let's have a look at this footage. So what were the Russians trying to do here? Well, as you'll see in a moment, you can see two planes trying to essentially dump fuel onto this drone. So what does that do? Well, this is actually a tactic that the Russians pretty much seem to do all the time, going back in history. In fact, there was another event that happened years ago during the Soviet Union where they did this to like a Norwegian seaplane. They sort of did it. They sort of got in front, dumped fuel on it, and he's sort of trying to do so. They clipped the propellers on the seaplane, which caused it to have to be downed, as did the other sort of plane as well. This caused quite a big diplomatic incident at the time, and now we can still see that the Russians are still doing this because, again, the attempt to sort of dump fuel onto these planes is an attempt to sort of well, take out its engines effectively, and and force it to ditch. But the main thing you have here, and what you've got to remember, is that these jets, that it's the Russian jets, are a lot faster than this Reaper drone. Like I said, this Reaper drone isn't jet powered; it's turbine, it's propeller powered. So it is nowhere near can do the speeds that these Russian jets are doing, but that seems to be, as you'll see, what caused this accident, and what other sort of experts in sort of aviation and people who've flown jets seem to have said that the Russian jet that came in and hit it basically seemed to have been going too fast, too quickly, and couldn't move out of the way of this jet, and it was, well, a very irresponsible thing to do. And you'll be able to see the damage that it caused. But anyway, let's get into this. So This is the first Russian sort of attempt to dump fuel. So as you can see, there's the Russian jet, and there's its fuel being released, and there it comes, very, very close. The first one misses it, but just look at, as you can see, the propeller. Just look at the propeller there of the drone, and you can see it's still intact, because this is the second attempt. And you saw how close the first one came. Just look at how close the second one comes. So in comes the second one, a lot closer. A lot closer, as you can see. In fact, tell you what, we'll just slow it down for you, just so you can really see. But there it is, and you can see how close it is compared to the last one. And I think this is where the hit will come in, because it, like I say, temporarily disabled the drone's piloting, knocked out its camera temporarily. But as you can see, that came incredibly close compared to the last one, even though the last one wasn't that close itself. And then we'll get back, and then you can see the propeller. Again, we'll just slow it down so you can see the propeller. As you can see, the propeller's been hit very clearly. Like, and I want to point out that the Russians, their story of this is that, oh, you don't understand. It was the drone. It made a sharp move, made a sharp turn. That's what caused it to be downed. No, you can very, very clearly see here that propeller was bent by a collision. There was that's how that propeller was being bent, and you can see from like the second one where you compare it to the first one, that jet got incredibly close, and that will ultimately have damaged that jet at some point. What damage it would have caused, we don't know, but as people have said, this is a very sort of significant escalation from the Russians if they are now going to start to go after sort of Western intelligence gathering units, which again are international waters. This was in international airspace over international waters. This wasn't Russian airspace. This drone was in, but it's now remains to be seen whether the Russians will start going after other surveillance equipment that is out and operating in the Black Sea, because we've got a plane that's operating out there. There's a US one that's out there. There are, again, more drones operating out there in that area. But what has been seen by this is an escalation, because this now seems to have certainly made Poland, and I think can't remember which other country said they were going to be sending their old MIGs to Ukraine. Now, why are they sending MiGs? Because that's what the Ukrainians use. That's what they've got. If they send them anything else, well, then they've got to get them trained up. They've got to get them, serviced, repaired. It's not just that. You've got to have the parts. You've got to have. There's a whole ton of stuff if they start sending them sort of things like F-35s or F-16s. And eventually, I think we will get to that. Even this morning, Denmark has actually come out and said, "Yeah, I think we probably need to start doing it as well." But the fact that now have these new sort of MiGs headed to Ukraine, I think this could very well easily start a more of more sort of Western countries saying, "Oh, okay, let's start to send more aerial equipment in terms of, well, potentially more drones." We could even see again more countries that have those old MiGs in storage, send them to Ukraine, because again, a lot of the old Eastern Bloc countries do have MiGs in storage, in stock, in their back rooms that they have. So ultimately, this was, I think, an accident that's ultimately going to very much favor Ukraine. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and of course, we'll see you all next time.